by yelling. Which do you think that was?
Anytime the Jets come up, you sweat.
They suggested that my voice rose several octaves. So that's something I've been waiting to have happen for years.
Calm down, G.
I'm doing my best.
Calm down.
Well, anyway, we welcome you back to another hour of Get Up as we come to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. And we have another hour of fun and yelling as we get up again with the Warriors on their drive for five trips to the finals and a place on the podium of all-time great teams. Are they already there? We'll answer that question. And do they even need Kevin Durant to win? We'll answer that. Someone who knows is an emphatic yes on that question. Who that is might surprise you. And, of course, much more on Magic Johnson. He went scorched earth on the Lakers yesterday. We'll tell you why this could be one of the most important moments in the franchise ever. Let's get up right now, starting with game of the night. Richard Jefferson, Warriors, Blazers in Portland, game 4. Portland trying to stay alive. Dame Lillard ready to go. Second quarter, he was finding Myers Leonard, who had a huge first half.
Myers Leonard was the man. Just like everybody knew it was going to be Myers Leonard versus the Golden State Warriors. In the step back three for Myers Leonard. Are you kidding me?
Even him. 10 of 12, 25 points in the first half for Leonard. Portland up 4 at halftime, third quarter. Blazers lead is 2. Oh, come on.
Oh,
that's
no.
Alfonso McKinney.
Oh, you know, you get texts from your friends, your mama hit you. Baby, you all right? Right? Like, that's just when it's just a bad time. And he hit the 3.
That was a little difficult to watch there. So Portland led by as many as 17 in the third quarter. So Golden State had them right where they want them. Here they come. Steph Curry. The Warriors played more minutes in this series, in which they wound up winning in a sweep. Then they played more minutes from behind than they did in front. That's a remarkable statistic because they just keep coming back. And Draymond Green was a huge part of it here. Look at Draymond knocking down the 3 in the corner in the final 4 minutes. Green and Curry, first teammates ever to each have triple-doubles in the same playoff game. Damian Lillard did not have a great series, but that one does rattle home, and it gives Portland a 1-point lead late. Just over 2 minutes to go. The lead is still 1. Steph. No. Steph. The other way. Lillard. How about Leonard on the jam?
Oh, whose baby is that? Somebody get that little Michigan State baby out of here.
Worst celebration in 10
Blazers a 3-point lead. Less than 2 minutes to go. Can't forget about Clay. Never forget about Klay Thompson. Gathers strokes. Game tied at 111. Here we go. Less than 20 seconds to go. Still tied at 111. Steph Curry. Going to lose it. Going to get it back. He's thinking about 3. How many steps? How many steps? Bro. Look at his brother. Look at his brother on the bench.
Oh, look at this. They're looking at him. He knows. He wasn't even looking at his feet. And he was like, he traveled.
And they do call it.
Yes,
they do call the travel. So the Blazers get the ball. Less than 10 seconds to go. And Portland in desperate need of one win to salvage that pride in this series. This is for the win. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds from Lillard. No good. It rolls off the rim. To overtime they would go. Less than a minute to go in the extra session. The Warriors are leading by 1. And here's the big bucket, the backbreaker. Steph, Draymond Green, open for a reason, but it made him pay.
So many of these throughout his career. He's not a great shooter, but he is a clutch shooter in the
for more minutes in this series than they led, but they win in 4, advancing to their 5th straight NBA final.
I hope it doesn't go
5 straight times is special. And saying that, we know we still have more work to do. You know, the goal is never just to get to the finals. The goal is to go win the finals.
All right, so they'll see if they can do that. They now await the winner of the East, and they're not going to start till a week from Thursday. BPI would give Golden State just a 34% chance of beating the Bucks.
Wow.
A 53% chance of beating the Raptors.
I'm taking that 34%.
Obviously, KD's health remains up in the air. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. I want to focus it here for a moment, if we can, on just this team's place in history. We mentioned the last team in any of the major sports to get to 5 straight finals was the Islanders, that great Islander dynasty, which is now 40 years ago. Yeah. It only happened in basketball the one time with the Celtics. It's an extraordinarily rare and magnificent occurrence. What do we say about the Warriors' place in history?
We will talk about them as being one of the greatest teams, but we'll talk about how different it was from guys that, like our generation, CNT, because they brought in one of the top 10 players of all time. Not of the era, of all time. When they brought in KD, everybody talked about this as what in the world is happening.
So it cheapens it for you. The artificial way this was put together cheapens it.
It definitely cheapens it a little bit for me when you compare them to all of the other teams that came together.
I hear you, and I've heard many people say it, and candidly, I do not disagree. As we look at video of some of the great teams of all time, you saw the legendary Celtics, and here, of course, are Michael's Bulls and all of that, and those were all put together the old-fashioned way, and this group came together. Would we have said the same thing if LeBron had stayed in Miami and they had won 5 straight? They went to 4 straight finals in Miami. They would have gone to plenty more if he had stayed there. Would we say the same thing about the Heatles?
Well, I really think that the championship that he won, and this is why people talk about Kevin Durant, the championship that he won in Cleveland, I think weighs a lot more than the championships that he won in Miami. So you could kind of say that, but I'll say this about being different. Understand that the 3-time champion Bulls added Dennis Rodman in his prime. They added Tony Kukoc, right? Now, again, that was not Kevin Durant, but they had the best player in the world. They had the best team. They probably had a top 7 player in Scottie Pippen. Yep. And then you go and add these amazing pieces.
They traded, they traded for Rodman. He didn't sign as a free agent, but yes, your point is correct.
But they added these pieces. Yes. So, yes, the best and the rich got richer. So this is not the first time that we've seen this in history.
What do you think? Is it unfair to diminish what they've accomplished because of the way they added the seemingly unstoppable piece?
I don't think so, because that's the way of the NBA. All championship teams, if you look at the makeup, they all have Hall of Fame players on their teams. And to your point about Rodman being added, Pippen was there. And these guys are not done yet, so we can't even really measure them.
Yeah,
they're still going.
They're still going.
And so you have to give them an incredible amount of credit for what they've accomplished. We're talking about the Celtics 60 years ago.
Yeah, and think about it. Even if, let's say KD stays, which I think that there is more. He's going to test free agency, but there's a chance that he stays. They could go to 7 or 8 straight finals, even with an injury to maybe Clay or an injury to somebody else. They have so much there that we're talking about 8 finals in modern day basketball.
We're not going to put the validity on it like we do with the great teams of Jordan, though. Come on, y'all. Come on now. We've been around this game for a long time.
It is different.
We're not going to talk about it in the same vein. We're going to say 2 MVPs. This team has 7 All-Stars.
But even Houston added. After they won the championship, they added Clyde Drexler the next year. So you see this with championship teams adding stuff. I'm with you.
7 All-Stars.
Here's 7. Look, there are a few things that we can say to sort of wrap this up, and there's a million different directions this could go. They just swept the 3 seed playing without Kevin Durant or Boogie Cousins. And Andre Iguodala didn't play in the last game. But Durant and Cousins didn't play in any of these games. They just swept the 3 seed. So what they're accomplishing is historic. And when you say, what will we say of them? I think we will say they were the first dynasty of this new era. Yeah. This is the way all champions will look and how they will be constructed going forward. They're just going to be the first.
But they also changed the league with their style of play.
Yeah.
And I think the way our league has changed with the way people are shooting the threes and the pace of the game, they brought that in. But everyone criticized Mark Jackson when he said that Clay and Steph were the 2 best shooters he had ever seen. And he's proven right.
He saw
now,
it every day.
Sure.
If there's one thing no one's going to argue, I think it's that. All right, more on Golden State as we go. But let's go from one level to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum, and that would be the Lakers. And a crazy day yesterday that all started here at the Seaport. Magic Johnson on First Take with Stephen A. and Max and Molly, and he did not hold back.
I think if you're going to talk betrayal, it's only with Rob. I start hearing, Magic, you're not working hard enough. Magic's not in the office. So people around the Laker office was telling me Rob was saying things, and I didn't like those things being said behind my back, that I wasn't in the office enough and so on and on. So I started getting calls from my friends outside of basketball saying those things now were said to them outside of basketball. When I took the job, you know how many agents called me and said, you got to watch out for him. And I said, I got to give the guy a fair chance. I can't listen to people. And so, but he was a hard worker, smart guy. But now you have that position. So I'm good with that.
Well, this wasn't good because on the same day that Magic Johnson made those comments, these two guys, that's Rob Pelinka now on the left and that's Frank Vogel on the right, had a news conference to introduce Vogel as the new coach of the Lakers. Timing of that literally couldn't have been worse. So, of course, a lot of the questions were to Pelinka about what Magic said. Here was his response.
I think the most important thing for me is the 2 years of getting to work side by side with Irvin are some of the greatest memories I have in sports and work. He's an unbelievable person to work with. He fills the room with joy and vision. And truly it's saddening and disheartening to think he believes things are a misperception. I look forward to the opportunity to talk with him and sit down with him and work through them, just like in any relationship, because they're just simply not true.
I just wrote down the words, he fills the room with joy and vision. That on the day that Magic Johnson just called you a snake in front of the entire world, you just said he fills the room with joy and vision.
He took the high road. We're going to talk about this. He took the high road. Now, there are times when you should not necessarily take the low road, but you need to fire a shot back. Right? Like, you don't have to air all of your dirty laundry.
Why you look forward to talking to him? You don't have his number?
I look forward to, like, this was the first conversation.
Go on with that thought, because I know where you're going.
The fakeness of it all. Like, just the fakeness of the response from Rob Pelinka. And then Magic, like, we can't absolve Magic of any
at all.
wrongdoing.
No.
Like, that's not what we're doing. But for Rob Pelinka to sit there and so graciously say how great Magic Johnson was, you know why Magic Johnson's great? Because you in this spot.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, your plan came together. Like, that was your plan.
And saying this, living in LA, knowing Luke Walton, knowing LeBron James, like working around the Lakers and just understanding what's going on there, I'll tell you the two things that need to happen, maybe three. Magic Johnson needed to step down. It happened. Rob Pelinka needs to go. Jeannie Buss now needs to go you see all of these, Tim Connelly interviewing with the Wizards. You see David Griffin getting picked up by the Pelicans. You see all of these great basketball minds that have done this in their entire lives and worked for 25 or 30 years in this league. Someone needs to come in and step in. And then you need to take all of these master of whispers and all these things. You need to get all of these people gone and just have one direct voice. Until Jeannie Buss does this, they will continue to struggle.
Well, I think when you look at their history, when they had Jerry West there and they had Mitch Kupchak, the Lakers are a different organization, similar to the Celtics. The Celtics have Danny Ainge. You need someone like that to be there. It's a different challenge. It's not like all the other jobs in the league.
Yeah.
Well, you need someone who understands the Lakers and what it means to be with that organization. That's a different job. There's a lot that goes into it. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Look, I think that the blame starts at the top.
Yes.
Because what everyone is saying here is that the structure doesn't make sense, and there's only one person who's responsible for the structure. So when you're saying you need one person at the top to have their voice be heard, that means that we can't be hearing from Kobe's agent, and we can't be hearing from Phil Jackson, and we can't be hearing from Kurt Rambis, and we can't be hearing from Linda Rambis, and we can't have Magic Johnson say, I wanted to do this, but then I came in and they told me that I can't do it. She hired Magic Johnson to do a job and then didn't let him do the job. Magic Johnson may not have handled his exit exactly right, but he was 100% right to walk out the door.
I was so critical of Magic and Rob all year long. And I said, if you want to know how the Lakers were run, look at how Magic left. I was very, very critical of Magic Johnson. Yesterday, I have to take some of my criticism back because I understand. Look, Luke Walton grew up with the guy, one of my best friends. If you want to fire him because you want to go do your way, look, I understand that. I will respect you. This is not because of any relationship. It's just because he did it the best way he needed to.
Let's play that because we keep alluding to it. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see the interview, I mean, it was an hour yesterday, and it was candidly, it was awesome. It was riveting anyway. But here's the part where he talked about Luke Walton, who is now the former coach of the Lakers, and how that factored into Magic's decision to quit.
The straw that broke the camel's back was I wanted to fire Luke Walton. And we had max 3 meetings. So when we went back and forth like that, and then she brought Tim Harrison to the meeting, when I looked up and said, wait a minute, I only really answer to Jeannie Buss. Now I got Tim involved. I told them when it's not fun for me, when I think that I don't have the decision-making power that I thought I had, then I got to step aside.
Look, this isn't complicated because we can debate all day long whether Luke Walton did a good job or not.
Yes.
But that isn't the point.
That's not the point.
If you give Magic Johnson the job as being the president of basketball operations and he says, I want to fire the coach, and you don't let him, then he has to walk out the door.
He has to go. And that's one of the things, again, I was critical of him. But you said, I have these meetings and then Tim Harris comes in. We hear about all of these names. At the end of the day, there needs to be one name. Magic Johnson wants to do it his way. He should do it his way. Was I a fan of this? Was I a fan of the way they did free agency this year? Was Magic, should we absolve Magic of that? No. But at the end of the day, it's not all on him. He thought he was going to have more control and wasn't able to run the team.
Gee, leadership ain't for everybody.
Nope.
I mean, we've had that conversation a lot when we talk about football. Like, you can't just ordain people as leaders. Right now, Jeannie Buss is not a leader. Look, she's the owner of a team, and I know Dr. Buss handed that off to his children, but she's not leading right now. She's allowing a conglomeration of people to be in her ear. And anytime you have somebody in the ultimate position of power and you're letting other people influence your decision making, when you've already sort of delegated power to certain individuals, you will always have a terrible organization. And here's the great thing about sports. When it's dysfunctional in the front office, it's going to be dysfunctional on the field of play.
Yeah.
It's going to be dysfunctional within that organization and how they show up. So it's difficult for me to absolve any fault from Jeannie Buss because she's the one that ultimately draws the gavel.
Look, when things go this badly as this has gone, there's more than enough blame to go around for everyone. That's clear. But if you're looking at one place that the buck stops, I believe it's the very top. Now, you, Coach Tibbs, have worked in a lot of different organizations, some very successful, some not so successful. Is the thread of commonality one vision, one voice, one person that is, for better or worse, everyone is following that person's lead?
And I think Magic was saying that. He was hired to be the president of basketball operations. He's the basketball expert. It should be his voice to Jeannie. And that should be the person they're relying on the most. And you see that with Pat Riley, with Mickey Arison. You see that Danny Ainge with the ownership in Boston. I think the successful teams, they do it that way. If you start listening to a lot of different people with different agendas, you're going to get off course. Great leadership provides order. And you need strong leadership.
Greg Popovich is another obvious example in the NBA and many others.
Agenda.
Yeah.
Like, Rob Pelinka's agenda was to be the president of basketball operations.
And if Magic's not there.
I'm telling you, when you listen to Magic talk and when you listen to Rob Pelinka's response, Rob Pelinka responded like, I'm sitting in the exact position I wanted to be in.
Can I throw a slight curveball into this conversation and say something controversial? They're this close to getting it turned around. And I'll tell you why.
That's the frustration. That only adds frustration.
Because basketball is the one place I can think of, the one sport at least, where one person can turn everything around. And they have that person. They have LeBron James. So assuming LeBron comes back healthy and motivated, they have the best player in the league. They're one great player away from turning it completely back on their side. The question is, can they get that player? Can they somehow talk Kawhi Leonard? It can't be, with all due respect to these guys, it can't be someone like Bradley Beal or Jimmy Butler. But if they can somehow convince Kawhi Leonard, or I'll even say Kyrie
Irving, it's more than one.
It's more than one.
But they have a bunch of good young players. If they can talk one of these free agents into coming, they got a bunch of good young guys there.
All right, so say you send one of the great players with him next year. Line them up against Golden State.
Well, if Kevin Durant doesn't leave Golden State, no one is. You have to go back and get the 96 Bulls to play them. But if you take Kevin Durant off Golden State, and I've got LeBron, I'm just making this up, LeBron and Kawhi, and I've got, you don't lose anybody because he's a free agent. So I've got Kyle Kuzma, and I've got Josh Hart, and I've got Lonzo Ball, or maybe you trade him because he and LeBron don't fit together. I got a shot. I'll take my chances with LeBron James.
I know Kevin Love was in Cleveland, but it was Kyrie and LeBron that beat Golden State.
Yes.
I mean, it was those two players together with some role guys are good enough.
But there were other factors in that, too.
Because I keep hearing I keep hearing all y'all say this, too, which is really pissing me off. KD, Giannis, Kawhi, these are the best players in the world. LeBron James is still the best player in the NBA. Like, I know everybody's a creature of what we're watching now. LeBron James still went for 28 in probably the worst possible situation you could go through as a basketball player. So let's not be so quick. We've seen him go to 8 straight finals. Like, everybody has forgotten that. But LeBron with another All-Star is different than anybody else with another All-Star.
If he is still that, then I believe you were 100% right.
No.
Meanwhile, as we continue, no KD, no Boogie, no problem. Are these Golden State Warriors the best team we've seen in our lifetime? Jalen Rose answers that question and many others as he joins us live next. And some more football. Ben Roethlisberger says he and AB are cool. AB doesn't think so. Wait till you hear the 2 words he had in response, and they're safe for TV. So you will hear